Elkins presents the Elkins Accounting Hour with your host, Chad Elkins.
All right. Happy last day of April, you guys. Ever since I got into this industry, I've told everybody that my favorite month of the year is actually, it's May, and that holds true even today, because in May, I usually don't do anything. So it's nice to get this month over with. I had a bunch of stuff that happened since the end of tax season 2 weeks ago, and I'll get into that in a second. But first, tonight's beer of the evening is called Three Floyds Gumball Head. Three Floyds is a really, really, really good brewery it's in Munster, Indiana, which is probably about I guess like an hour-long drive from here. So it's not too far. And they have all kinds of good beers, and Gumball Head has always been my favorite. They say it's an American wheat ale, but to me, it's just an American pale ale. Like it maybe I don't typically like a lot of heavy wheat-based beers, but this one really doesn't taste like one. It's more of a pale ale, so it's one of my favorites. It is 5.6% ABV, so it's not too high in alcohol, and it's really tasty. So let me get this going. So yeah, I did have back surgery a week ago. Yeah, it was last Tuesday. It was well, first, 1 second. Cheers. So good. So anyway, yeah, I had back surgery last Tuesday, and it went okay. And I had the candidate here because she's in the healthcare industry, and I mean that was awesome because she knew exactly like everything about what was going to happen to me, like what it would feel like, what I'd need help with, what she would need to do to kind of help me out. So that was pretty awesome of her, and of course she made delicious food, all that good jazz. So that part was good. And so the other thing, well, about the back surgery, here's the thing. Like, I don't know if any of y'all have ever had any surgeries before, but when you're put under anesthesia, so they put you to sleep, which is what they had to do for this. They had to knock me totally out. It's really weird. Like it's almost like being abducted by aliens, and you have no idea like what happened or where the time went, or what they did to you. Because the very last thing I remember was so they wheeled me to from the pre-op to the operating room, and the anesthesiologist comes up to you and he's like, okay, they put a mask on you, and he's like, I want you to take several like really deep breaths, and then I want you to count backwards from 100. So I remember, taking a few deep breaths, and he goes, start counting. And I'm like, 100, 99, 98. Next thing I know, it's like an hour or an hour and a half later, and I'm sitting in the recovery room, and I'm just like, oh, what? It was one of those deals where you could see I could see a clock on the wall, like when I was in the operating room. So, it was like 1 p.m. or something like that. And then when I came to in the post-op recovery room, I woke up and was looking straight at another clock. And so it was like time disappeared. So it was really messed up. Oh, what's up, Atham? Let me know if you want to pop on, Atham. Yeah, I did meant to say it's just going to be me today. I think Clary might be having some problems, so we couldn't get him on today. No, he actually he was driving back out west to South Dakota, I think, today. So I didn't want to bother him with this. So hopefully we'll get him on next week. But anyway. So yeah, it was sort of like being abducted by aliens. And the other thing is that you can't when they do something like put you under, they have to stick all this stuff down your throat. So it was like I had the hardest time swallowing for like the rest of the day because it just like it really kind of screws up your throat. Like they've got tubes down there, so it hurts, and like under my tongue hurt, and the anesthesia makes it hard for you to swallow. So even without that pain, when you're first waking up, they give you saltines and water, and they're like, here, eat these. And so I started to chew on one and eat. You can chew on it, but it's like it makes it really hard to go down. So you have to like drink water just to get it to go down. So anyway, but no, the surgery was fine. I had bad sciatica, which is where the pain like radiates from the middle of your back, like down into your butt, like down the leg. And I had that for almost a year, like on the left side. And what's cool is that as much pain as you're in, from the wound to the surgery and all that, the second you like stand up or whatever, the sciatica pain is gone. Like it almost is like instant relief. So that's kind of cool. Now you're left with like some other pain, obviously they just cut into your spine. And but actually, that the pain only lasted a few days. Hold on, somebody, did they not give you the good drugs? Yes, they gave me hydrocodone. I took those pills probably for, I don't know, like 3 days. Truthfully, that's really nothing special. Uh, yeah, it was a badly herniated disc. It was basically bulging, like the L5S1, which is kind of the lowest part of your spine, and it was just making life unbearable. So yeah, they fixed that. The only thing is there's a little numbness down the leg, and they told me this would be the case, for a few weeks. So my left pinky toe is kind of numb, and it's really weird because you can't feel it, but it's obviously there, and it's normal because the irritated nerve needs to be settled down since the surgery does mess with that nerve. But yeah, it was a nice day today, so I was just out walking all over downtown because I had a doctor's appointment and had some errands, so it was fine. I admit I was kind of worried about it beforehand, but it ended up being like the only other time I'd had a surgery like this was I had my wisdom teeth out, and this kind of this felt like almost easier than that because they weren't in your mouth; you could still like eat. But yeah, so I'm glad that's over with. I still it's going to be a little bit weird. It's going to feel a little weird on my left foot and down my left leg for a while, but it'll get better quickly over time. So cheers to that. Mm. So there's a lot I want to get into because I'm going to go over the predictions I made and see how close I was on some of them and how far away I was. But I do have this really bad story about the billing department in the hospital where they did the procedure for me. Yeah, don't worry, real Uncle Hector. Wait till you hear this one. So I want to say off the bat, the hospital, the care I got in the hospital was amazing. Like the nurses were great. The surgeon was great. Like no issues with anything. Let me tell you what happened a couple days after the procedure. So I think this was like Thursday of last week. Uh, for those that don't know, and I didn't really know this until recently, the way it works when you have surgery and you're getting it done in a hospital is the hospital checks your insurance. They check your progress for meeting your deductibles, your out-of-pocket maximums and stuff. So they sort of do like a pre-run of the claim that you're eventually going to submit because they want to create some sort of estimate as to how the final bill will turn out. Like they don't want to schedule surgery and then it turns out you go in there and your insurance, even if you were pre-approved, you just decide not to pay the hospital. They obviously want to avoid that, but so this is how it works. They run the insurance before the procedure. They prepare an estimate and you have to pay the estimate right before you have the procedure. So we get in that morning, me and the candidate, we go to the hospital that morning, and they were basically like, here's the estimate. And I looked at it and I'm like, I had kind of done the math in my head before this, and I'll just be right up front. It was $2,500. This is an estimate. And it was kind of within the range of what I thought it would be. So I went ahead and paid. I just gave him my credit card. And the thing about these estimates is that if it turns out after the procedure they run your insurance and you either paid way more, they'll eventually refund it, or if you didn't pay enough as to you would need to pay, of course they'll add on to the bill. So this all sounded fine to me. I didn't really have a problem with it. I understood it. So I gave my credit card $2,500, and that's that. Um, so then I'm laid up a couple of days later. I can't really do anything but lay around, like spread out on my back. And so I have my laptop and I'm like, all right, I'll check my credit card statement. Or actually, this was Friday. So this was Friday. I'll check my credit card statement, which was 3 days later. And when I looked, I saw that they had accidentally, at least I hope it was accidentally, double charged the 2,500 deposit that I had made for them. And this wasn't a pending charge, because you know how you charge things to your credit card and you log on your online to check it and it says charge pending, charge pending. These two charges actually went through, so they were legit. I now had a 5,000, in addition to other charges, I had $5,000 charge from the hospital that I paid for. Yeah, Atham, accidentally. Wait do you hear how this is going to turn out? So I was obviously like, wait a minute, what the fuck? And I call the hospital's billing department. I explained what happened, and first of all, the person barely spoke English, which was really irritating. But again, so we eventually, after a few minutes, they finally understood what I was saying. I was saying, I think that you accidentally double charged me. So they understood what I was saying. Some hemming and hawing. He understood the issue. I had thought before I made this call, I was like, so all they're really going to have to do is just see that there was an obvious double charge and they'll just give me credit for one of the charges, no harm, no foul. I was like, this happens, I suppose. Here's where the story really gets bad. Yeah. So the guy, he understands the issue. He's like, one moment, let me just check with my billing manager. And I thought this is probably just protocol because they don't want, every noob to just hit refund on everything. They probably need a manager to approve it. Again, totally understand. So then the billing manager, who did speak perfect English, they get on the phone and she explains to me that the charge, the extra charge, that no charges can be refunded or reversed until the insurance claims get processed to arrive at the final bill to know what I would actually be charged. Okay. So you see what happened here. Whether it was an accident or not, they basically double charged me and they were like, we're going to hold that double charge hostage until we know what the final bill is going to be. I argued, I'm like, look, this is a double charge. Look when the time was. It was like a minute apart or something. It tells you what time it was run. I said, I understand the estimate requirement. I understand that it's like a deposit, but it was, this erroneous amount that was doubled. This is a really high amount. So, I said, I know I'll probably get all of it back or most of it back, but I need it refunded now because the thing is, my credit card balance will have to be paid, within my next month's credit card balance is going to have to be paid no matter what. Right. So it's not like I can just say to the credit card, and I'll get to what I did with the credit card company, but it's not like I could just be like, tee hee, MasterCard, I'm only going to pay you 2,500 less than the balance because of this issue. Don't charge me interest for that. And we all know that, if you don't pay the full balance with your monthly credit card bill, you're going to be paying a shit ton in interest charges. So it wasn't that, I have the money to make the payment, but I just thought this was total bullshit because it was an error on their part. Like, yes, it's clearly a refund. Like, I don't care what your stupid policy is about insurance. This is a mistake. And, you need to refund this double charge. So I get back on the phone with them and I'm like, yeah, this needs to be refunded, and again, they were like, well, no refunds until the insurance gets processed and goes through. And I said, well, how long does that generally take? And they're like, between 30 and 45 days. And I said, well, what am I going to do about my credit card bill that's going to come up in the meantime? And they really didn't have an answer for that. So basically at the end of like I was supposed to like basically part with an extra $2,500 of my cash due to a clerical mistake on the hospital's part, is what it boiled down to. So it's just total fucking bullshit. Total bullshit. The optimist in me wants to say, okay, it was an accident, things happen. The Clary in me says, I think they did this on purpose. So some of you might have already guessed what I had to do. At the end of the day, my only recourse for this was to dispute one of the charges, with my credit card company, because I was like, I'm not going to be forced to like pay that much money because of some fuck up on the billing department by somebody who can't even speak English, probably. So, I try not to dispute charges because you want to give whether it's a hospital, a restaurant, a business, whatever, you want to give them a chance to make it right, to refund your money. But after a couple of calls, the hospital billing department, which is, despite even them admitting, yes, we see it's highly likely it was a double charge, they wouldn't refund it to me. And as of today, this is still all ongoing. Now, my credit card company did give me a credit for the duplicate charge, because anytime you dispute a charge, they need pretty much the same amount of time as the insurance to process, 30 to 45 days or whatever. So right now it's just a matter of a race to see who's going to what's going to get resolved first, the insurance claim going through, or my credit card company following up and investigating the dispute. I mean, perhaps they're just going to be in cahoots with one another and be like, there's nothing that can be done, pay it, whatever. But yeah, so that's my long-winded way of saying that, if you guys ever have to have a procedure done, or if you have to go to the doctor or hospital or whatever, and you have insurance, make sure that you clarify all of this up front. And you might even want to say, if there's an accidental overcharge, I want assurances that it's going to be refunded to me. Because admittedly, I had no idea how this worked until really right when I had the surgery. I kind of knew what they were going to do, but I didn't realize that it was subject to no refund policy for to wait on the insurance. So yeah, that was a real horror. That was really the worst part about the surgery. What was this shit is the billing department. And yeah, the real director. Yeah, if you don't pay the balance, your credit score will just go way the hell down. And I pride myself on having, my score fluctuates a little bit because I have a few credit cards, corporate and all that, but it's above 800 and I want to keep it there. So yeah. And yeah, I think he probably was based in India based on the accent. So anyway, so that was the only interesting thing that happened as far as that. Take whatever lessons you want from that, if there are any. I guess my one regret is that I didn't tell this story when Clary was on, because I could see him flipping out. When that stuff happens to him, he just loses it. So, and I was pretty upset, but I didn't fall apart or anything. I do know it will work itself out eventually. So, yeah, that is pretty much what happened. And yes, I'll jump into the couple of super chats I have here now. Okay, Lord, for $2. Yes, it is a Cappy tax-free day. Okay, if there's ever a day, you guys never are obligated to give me any super chats. I always say that I do this for fun and for my own therapy, and it's an excuse to drink beer. But yes, is a Cappy tax-free day. So hey, if there's ever a day you want to contribute, it would be this one. I'm just kidding. And there was one more here. Oh yeah, dung is fun for $2. Are you as tall as Cappy now? Yeah, it's funny. Is back surgery supposed to make you taller or shorter? I don't know, but I'll have to let you know the next time Cappy and I get together. So yeah. Yeah, homeschool time. The back is fine. It cured it almost instantly. So it was called a microdiscectomy. I have to recommend it for guys that have sciatica problems, whether it's from running too much over the years or whatever. But oh, and also I did a quick short while I was about to get cut open at the hospital. I want to thank everybody who had well wishes for that. That was pretty cool because I was kind of worried about it before it, but so I appreciate that. No, Oxnade. Unfortunately, she wasn't allowed back in the recovery room. I was kind of hoping that she would be able to go back there and like record my reaction, but no, she wasn't allowed back there. Wish she was. Um, let's see. Daniel, this was a really nice comment. Been listening to Cap since 2015. Been listening to you since your old videos on Cap's channel. You guys have had the biggest impact on my life. I'm 5 years into my tax career and working on a CPA. Well, dude, thank you for the nice message. I really appreciate that. And I'll be sure and pass this along to Clary, because even though he's all gruff and he's sometimes has some problems that he can't handle, I think he appreciates messages like this. So I'll be sure and pass along. And really, I'm glad we were able to have that impact. Cheers, man. Let me know how your progress is going. Dung is fun for $2. Get the hospital to get you an itemized list. That's the thing. They can't, because it was all an estimate. So they flat out admit, this is basically an advance because we don't want you to just get the surgery and then cut and run. So I know, like, when the insurance company runs the claim, yes, I'll see an itemized list. And again, I've got deductibles and out-of-pocket maximum. So I kind of knew it would come out to around the amount they charged. But I mean, getting charged double like that twice, fuck that. That's so lame of them. All right. One final look at the comments here. Yeah, Atham, I know. I really should have I should have done that, shouldn't I? It's silly me to trust the system. I I don't know, maybe we really are, maybe we are falling into a third world developing country. I don't know. Dung is fun for $2. Cappy got a micro vasectomy. That's pretty good. 22 minutes in. I'm going to have to send him that. Thank you, Dung is fun. All right. Okay, I got to get to the material, because I did, like I said, I had nothing to do except lay around pretty much for the last week. So I had time to take like copious notes and like, determine how close I was to my predictions about how tax season would go in mid-January. I did the stream with Clary. I dropped the link in the description there if you want to check it out. So let's see. Let me get to this top here. So these were my top 10 predictions about how tax season 2024 was going to go, not just for us tax professionals, but also for tax filers, so for the citizens, my clients, and you guys. So my first prediction was this. Tax refunds will be lower than they were for 2022, and many people will end up unexpectedly owing money to the IRS. So remember, tax season 2024 deals with tax year 2023, right? Because you have to let the year finish. So I was talking specifically about tax year 2023. The reason I said that was because, a lot of you guys probably saw, like, the interest rates for savings accounts really shot up as, the Fed continued to raise interest rates. And of course, the stock market generally had a pretty good year. So the S&P 500 index was up. It was something like over 15% in 2023. A lot of people were selling stocks because they needed the money due to inflation. So there were some serious capital gains that people were going to have to pay. This was my prediction. So I felt pretty confident about this. And the only other note I made back in January was that, Bitcoin, believe it or not, Bitcoin had such a good year in 2023. And I won't even get started on the crypto bros and the normies that are going into crypto investing. But I felt like some of them would pay capital gains. So that was my prediction. And as it turns out, this prediction turned out to be 100% true. Like, I was dead on with this. It seemed kind of obvious to me. Now, here's what happened. There were a lot more people, a lot more of my clients, that had a more unfavorable result for tax year 2023 compared to 2022. It was for the reasons I just mentioned, higher interest, dividends, capital gains, and all that. And unfortunately, I did have to have some more uncomfortable / unpleasant interactions with clients once I finished their returns because of this. there were clients that were used to getting really high refunds, right? And so when their refunds were a lot lower, they were upset about it. And so I had to explain to them that it's actually bad when you get a high refund because you just gave an interest-free loan to the government and you didn't get to invest it in a savings account or anything. You didn't get it put in the market. Basically, it went to total waste and you couldn't grow it. It didn't matter how many, I tried explaining this to people so many times and they just wouldn't, they still were like, but I want a higher refund. So after a while, you just kind of have to give up about that. But yeah, so that was that. Um, Rob Blauser, don't worry, I got your text. Yeah, he saw him live. So the only other thing I want to mention about this is that there was one additional reason that my prediction came true with this outside of what I just mentioned. Let me give y'all 30 seconds. Do you have any? Is there any other reason y'all might have read about or heard about in the news or something as to why people had a more unfavorable tax outcome for 2023? I'll give it a few seconds just to see if anybody has any guesses. God, such a good beer. I don't think you can get this in other parts of the country outside of this region. But I could be wrong because I discovered that one of my favorite beers from down in Fort Worth, a downtown Fort Worth brewery called Martin House. You've heard me talk about them, the pickle beer. That is now available in my local Jewel, Osco, up here in Chicago, which I couldn't believe. So anyway, here was the reason. What happened was, for some reason, a lot of people's payroll departments made a shift to a lower level of withholding for people, for their W-2 workers. I don't really know if this was done on purpose. I really don't know. I think, my conspiracy. Yes, good call, Nick and Steve. W-4 withholding has been getting lowered for the past few years. And if I had to guess, I think maybe it was because, we all know about what was happening with inflation, at the end of 2022 and certainly in 2023. So I think maybe payroll departments were just automatically like withholding less so people could have maybe higher paychecks. They would feel less poor. Again, I don't know if any of that's true. It's just kind of a conspiracy theory I have. But yeah, it was, W-4 withholding had been getting lowered. That has actually been going on for a couple of years. So maybe COVID had something to do with it. So anyway, I predicted unfavorable outcomes for people, and that came true. My second prediction was the vast majority of people who would need a new tax professional to work with after tax season had started were going to have a very, very, very hard time finding one. I mean, I felt like this was, again, obvious at the time. I've talked about the shortages in the industry, and I've talked about, how even leading up to tax season. So in December and January, I was getting all kinds of like emails from people who would find my website and they'd be like, hey, we really need a CPA. Like, we can't find anybody with openings. Do you have any openings? And, I didn't. So it became, this has been getting, more and more prevalent over the year. But at the end of the day, people who needed to find tax preparers. So this prediction did turn out to be 100% true as well. Again, I thought it was kind of obvious, but I mean, there were so many people who were left scrambling, trying to find a tax pro during the entirety of busy season that most of them were getting turned away by CPA offices. And I'm not just solo shops like myself. I mean, even groups within town, family offices or whatever, nobody had any availability. So all they could really do, if you reached out for tax help and, February or March or even April, you basically had to go to a big box outlet like H&R Block or Jackson Hewitt or something, because they still take everybody, these places. And I got to check with him, but we're going to get Red Hawk back here to, I think next week, we'll talk about his experiences at H&R Block. Remember, we had him on, in late January, I think it was, to talk about how that had gone so far. So we'll get an update from him. Yeah, only big box tax prep we're taking people. And Nick is Steve, and there's some others like Parker, and then even a few more. One of these days, I may need to have just an entire stream of people who worked at H&R Block this past busy season, and we'll just kind of have a powwow. People can be anonymous if they want. People can show their face if they want, but just have a kind of a symposium of people who worked at H&R Block this past busy season and compare experiences. So that was just an idea I had. If y'all think that would be interesting, let me know. But so yeah, if you needed a tax preparer, you were contacting somebody starting in really like mid to late January, you weren't going to find one unless it was H&R Block. And it wasn't just my experience. Like, on the tax professional online forums like Reddit and a bunch of others that I try to, spend some time in just to see how things are going with my colleagues in other locations, they were all saying the same thing. And nobody could really bring anybody on. And, especially standalone 1040 filers, which means, your regular, like say you had a W-2, some interest, if you were just a regular 1040 filer, maybe you had a side business or something, a lot of people weren't willing to bring you on because at this point, the real money is in corporate returns, like S Corp returns, partnership returns, C Corp returns. I mean, if you're just a regular like standalone 1040, there's not a lot of income potential there. And a lot of people had very high, a lot of practitioners had very high minimums because of this. So yeah, this prediction came true. Nobody could find a tax preparer. So, oh, and the other thing I noted here, it got so bad that towards the like end of March and into April, I noticed that like this shortage, this crisis, if you will, this had started to reach even mainstream media outlets. Because there were all sorts of articles online, like on Yahoo. And I even was like watching the national news one night, just randomly. I don't typically watch it. And they mentioned like nobody can find preparers. And it was like the first week of April or something. So it was a bloodbath out there for these folks. And all I can say is you see why I'm stressing that those of you who might want to do this, now is the time. Now's the time to start doing it. I mean, if this past busy season only confirmed that belief. So far I'm 2 for 2 on predictions. My third prediction was there will be a huge uptick in attempted AI use in the industry throughout busy season, and it's going to result in an increase in mistakes and errors in prep. The reason I felt this way was that, AI had not really made the jump yet as far as reliable tax preparation itself, meaning actually entering the data and completing returns. Like AI is not really there, especially with the corporate and partnership ones. And I was on online forums and there were some pros that were like, yeah, I think I'm going to try, using AI, especially for really easy ones. I'll just see if it works. So I was like, well, this isn't going to go well. And we're going to see a lot of errors. AI use is going to shoot up. And so my prediction was that there were going to be some issues with this. Do you guys think I was right about that? Let me see if anyone has any guesses. Yeah, increased IRS funding, so more tax enforcement. You would think that's the case. I'm going to get into that a little bit later about some of my predictions. I'll give it a few more seconds. What's everybody drinking tonight, by the way, if anything? Homeschool time, you said, pouring the red wine. Believe it or not, you guys, most of you said yes. I was wrong. I was dead wrong on this one, for the most part. I was right that AI still has a long way to go in the industry. But from what I could tell, again, too soon to tell. I drastically overestimated how many industry professionals would start trying to rely on it, because most of my colleagues, not just online, but even ones I talked to in person, they concluded that it was just too unreliable to regularly implement right now. So I kind of overestimated this one. Yeah. So I was wrong about the uptick in tax prep and mistakes and errors from AI. but I did hear that some professionals relied on it a little bit, mainly just for simple inquiries, simple questions that someone could just Google. Like ChatGPT can handle that. So I know some pros that just relied on it for simple questions. So that, at least right now, to me, that seems okay. But yeah, I missed the mark on this one. AI just really didn't enter the fray. So far I'm only 2 out of 3. Prediction number 4. People who either file and or pay their taxes late or make errors in their filings that the IRS catches are going to be hit a lot harder with IRS penalties and interest, unlike how it's been for the past few years. Now, the reason I actually several reasons why I predicted this. To recap, I said, one, the government is going to be funding 2 overseas wars, or they are, everybody knows about that. So they need money. 2, COVID is done. So, they did implement some more lenient policies during COVID in terms of interest in particular, but COVID was done. So I was like, they're definitely gonna not give that type of leniency anymore. I also thought that the IRS would be more aggressive in sending out collection notices when additional taxes and penalties and interest were owed. Again, for the reasons I'm mentioning, like there's no more leniency. They need the money. I felt like penalty abatement requests would be denied. Occasionally you can request one of those, but I thought a lot of them would start to be denied. And I also thought that the IRS's processing any responses to penalty notice was still going to be really, really slow, despite the Inflation Reduction Act that gave them $83 billion in resources. I still thought they would be slow. And I'll talk more about that even more in a second. So here's the deal. For this one, I was partially correct. But a lot of this is still to be determined. So we actually need more time to see how this prediction will actually shake out, for the rest of the year. And I'll tell you what I did get right about this projection. The IRS did actually increase their interest rates for tax underpayments to 8%, and it was up from 3% like it had been for the COVID years. So, I mean, they really shot that up. They were like, COVID is over, interest rates, you owe us if you have taxes. So I was right about that part. And just so you know, before COVID, so 2019 and before, the interest rate was 5%. So I think they probably should have just gotten it back to 5, maybe ease into this. But like I said, they need money to fund these wars. So the defense contracting companies can get rich and the politicians get kickbacks. So yes, they've raised it ostensibly from 3% to 8%. So I was right about that. As far as the penalty, like failure to file penalties or failure to pay estimated taxes penalties, we got to see about that. I don't have enough information to know if they're actually going to increase those. And I did remember I was sitting around, so I did some research. I didn't really find anything about this. There's some predictions that, yeah, they're going to crush those, but we still have to see. So I do think this will flush out for me the rest of this year because it's inevitable. There's always a client of mine that forgot to give me a piece of documentation. So they'll get hit with a CP 2000 notice. And if they owe a lot of taxes, the interest rate will be up there. We'll see about the penalty part. So I'm only giving myself partial credit on that one. So what is that? That's 2.5 out of 4 predictions so far. Prediction number 5. This is what I was talking about a second ago. The IRS is still going to continue to be a complete dumpster fire as far as getting through to them on the phone or handling any mail correspondence. Okay. The reason I thought this would be the case was because the dedicated tax pro line, it's called the practitioner's priority line. It's basically a number. It's not a secret number, but you have to be a tax practitioner to call it because the first thing they ask you is, what's your EFIN, what's your PTIN, identify yourself in our system. So anyway, I thought that there would be no improvement with that, especially during busy season. Now there was a little bit of improvement when it was not busy season. So we were talking about, end of October, November, and December. You know, I had to make a couple calls, and so some other people. There's a little bit of improvement, but I thought this isn't going to last, you know, for the busy season. You know, some people online on Reddit and on the forums were like, yeah, we think it'll go better this year, especially with the practitioner priority line. And I was always skeptical on this. Because remember, I used to work that agency. So, yeah. Does anybody want to, if Clary was here, I'd be like, take a guess. Do you think I was right about this? So, yeah, that's what I'll do. You guys want to guess about this? I'll let you guys tell me, or tell me what your experiences were before I get to the answer here. By the way, I'm not taking pain pills anymore because you can't take those and drink at the same time. It's not smart. So anyway, the answer is this prediction. My prediction turned out to be mostly true, and I say mostly because it was the phone prediction. Like, it was the phone. That's interesting. Only 25 to 35 minutes. Because I read online that it was a lot worse than that. But anyway, so the few times I tried to get through, and again, this is during busy season, on that practitioner's line, it was just as bad as it was in previous busy seasons. So I was totally right about that. I mean, at least for me, I didn't see any improvement. As far as the correspondence delays, meaning like the letters and everything, yeah, you know what, EAC? Yeah, he is another tax practitioner. We've exchanged some emails. You almost never call and wait on hold. It's better to send letters, certified mail, return receipt requested. That's actually not a bad strategy because, yeah, like as far as the correspondence, it's a little bit, again, too early to tell because we have to see how quickly they're going to respond to some of these. From what I gather, it's still taking 3 to 6 months back to hear anything from the IRS. You know, if you have something you need to send them, if you're disputing a notice, it'll take them a really long time to respond to you. So to me, that seems like more of the same. But again, I have to see how quickly some of the correspondence I had to send in on behalf of clients, I have to see how that turns out. But I think at the end of the day, that will be proven true. I have to admit, yeah, 15 minutes, huh? You must have called it a good time because I tried calling early in the morning. I tried calling, you know, early afternoon. I tried calling at lunchtime. Everybody tries to call at lunchtime. So, oh, I see. Okay. Maybe H&R Block phones have like a special secret priority that directly link up to the IRS. That wouldn't surprise me since so many people are using, you know, H&R and TurboTax. But so yeah, I'm only giving myself partial credit for that one. So basically 3 out of 5 so far. So all right, we're at the halfway point. These next few will be faster. So these first few predictions that I gave, these first 5, they were more general in nature about tax season and the industry and the IRS and everything. These last 5 predictions that I made, these were more personal in nature. They were more related to my own practice, my own experiences, my own life and everything. So that's why I think these are a little bit more fun to analyze. But anyway, that's just my ego. Hold on, Oxnate. October 1st, still not processed 7 months. Yeah, this hasn't changed from what I can tell. So, okay, prediction number 6 I made was, and I was really sure about this one, really sure. I said, I'm going to be getting more flack than usual from my clients this year because of 2 major things, okay? The first was my personal document submission deadline. So for tax season 2022, so we're talking 2 years ago, meaning for tax year 2021, tax season 2022, 2 years ago, my deadlines were you have to submit all of the business return information to me. So those returns are due March 15th. We're talking 1065 partnerships, 1120S S Corp returns, etc. I needed to get everything by March 7th to meet a March 15th filing deadline. Again, this was 2 years ago. And for 1040s, I needed everything by April 7th. Okay, those have a April 15th deadline, although except for this past tax season, it's usually been like April 18th. So yeah, so I was giving people a little more time to get that done. That was 2 years ago. For tax season 2023, 1 year ago, I bumped this up a week. So I said March 1st for business returns, March 15th deadline, and then April 1st for 1040s. So, I wanted to give myself at least 2 weeks for each one to cover people getting everything at the last minute. Well, guess I think I know I mentioned this on the January show, but like for this past tax season, I made it. I said for the March 15th business return deadline, I need everything by February 22nd. Okay. You need to get it to me by February 22nd. Otherwise, you're getting put on extension, no exceptions. Okay. And for the 1040s, I said March 24th. Okay. So it's like if I don't get everything by like 3 weeks before the deadline, I'm going to file an extension for you. Now, does that mean I necessarily have to wait until then to finish it? No, but I did say I'm automatically going to file an extension and you may not get it done by the deadline, in which case I'll talk to you in May or June. So that was the first thing. I was like, there are going to be some pissed off people about this because I always send my welcome to tax season email right when it starts in mid-January. And I made that very clear in big, bold red letters. I swear half the people don't even read those emails, but that's not my problem. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing that I was sure they were going to get pissed off at me about was the preparation fees, as you can imagine, because, all of my back end expenses increased for doing my job because of inflation, everything from my internet bill to the tax software to filing fees. I mean, you name it, like everything went up in cost. So naturally, I'm going to raise my fee, right? And the other thing was that I raised them even higher compared to the year before, the previous tax season. So I was like, yeah, I'm absolutely certain that like there's some people that are going to be bitching about this. And I'm going to be getting a lot of flack. And so much to my surprise, I still can't believe this. I was off. I was 100% wrong about this. I still can't believe it. There seemed to be almost a universal understanding and respect for my pushed up submission deadlines to the point where I thought I was like in the twilight zone. Because I was like, I would wake up around these dates and I'd be like ready to go to battle, defending my position on this. But very few people really challenged me because even the usual like squeaky wheel procrastinators and complainers, annoying people, they basically fell in line with this because a lot of the emails that I got from these folks, I would see the email and I would expect, you'd see it in the inbox and I'd be like, oh, they're going to try to tear me a new one. I might have to fire them. But no, most of them were basically said something like, I'm sorry, Chad, I can't meet the submission deadline. Please go ahead and file an extension for me. I'll reach out to you a little later when I've got everything together to see if maybe we can get it done by the deadline. I was like, wow, this system seems to be really working. I do think it's because, enforcing boundaries does cause people to respect them. And the other thing was that my prediction number one, nobody could find another tax accountant. So, I mean, even if these folks were going to yell and pitch a fit and, try to replace me, and maybe some of them did without me knowing, they weren't able to find anybody. So yeah, I didn't get any complaints about the submission deadline. And regarding the fee increases, it really only ended up being a few people who wanted clarification about, why it went up. And I was honest with them. I told them that my costs, I outlined some of the costs that I have to pay on my end, which I just mentioned. I didn't give an itemized list of how they went up. But so yeah, I was like, yeah, my costs went up. I just said it was because of inflation. And, even I did mention the scarcity component of my time. And they understood why. Now, I remember I did have that one story about that woman who I ended up firing, who got her husband on the phone. Was like, we noticed the bill went up, $25 or something on the 1040 portion or whatever it was. Or no, it went up more than that. But that was one of my tax season rants of the week. I think I did that. Maybe it was early March or something, but it's there. that was probably the worst story as far as this goes. But no, most people were pretty cool about it. So I was wrong on that one. My cynicism got the best of me. Um, Prediction number 7, I thought I would be getting a lot more emails from prospective clients seeking a new tax professional than I had throughout previous years, in tax season. Again, this was a very obvious of mine, so I'm just going to be quick with it. I already talked about the shortage of tax pros. Boomers have left, they've retired, they've died, they're incompetent now. I'm not saying that to be insulting. Some of them have dementia, so there's a shortage in the industry, and it's just getting worse and worse. Obviously, this prediction turned out to be 100% true, as I already talked about. The reason I wanted to bring it up was because I have a kind of a quick, cool story about this. So there was a fan, started out as a fan of Clary's channel, his shows. He worked in accounting, so he started watching my streams, and we were communicating a little bit over email. I won't say who he was because I'll keep him anonymous, but I will say I hope I can get him on here, and you're going to find out why. He reached out to me in early February, okay? And he had recently completed his CPA, right? So he was a CPA, and he had some tax experience, and he'd been watching my streams and everything. And he was about to start his own practice, and he asked me if I would start sending him referrals that I was getting, because he heard me say I was going to get a lot of these. So he wanted me to send him referrals, and he said that he would provide me with referral fees, right? And I said, yeah, that's perfectly fine. I was already doing that with someone, one other professional who was growing their practice. So I said, sure, we discussed the referral fee and everything. So that's what we did for the rest of tax season. And he has pretty much been able to build up his practice. He's not totally full, but he's told me like he's really filled up nicely to the point where he started doing this on the side. He quit his job. He quit his job a couple months ago because everything was going so well that he just was like, okay, I'm just going to do this. And the reason this is a good story was because he's like, hey, Chad, this was a couple weeks ago. He's like, send me your address. I want to send you a thank you gift. He'd already been paying out my referrals. So I was like, you don't have to send me anything. I was happy to do it. It worked out. I'll keep sending them to you. You've always been gracious and everything. So I said, no. I want to send you a nice gift. So I get it last week. Look what this dude sent me. It was this really nice watch. Not a cheap watch either. And I actually needed a new watch. He didn't know that, but he sent me this. I don't even know if I'm going to say it correctly. Holzkern. If any of you know about watches, let me know. Holzkern. I want to say it was German, or I don't know. The candidate and I looked it up. But I mean, this is a really, really, really nice watch. And so I just thought I'm gonna let's see, we're about 52 minutes. I'm going to send him this clip, and I want him to be like, look, man, this was really cool of you. So yeah, I just thought it was a really nice story. He didn't have to do it, but yeah. So yeah, thank you to who you are. And we got to get you on here. So yeah, I was right about that prediction. Prediction number 8. I said I'm not going to be scheduling my live streams in advance during busy season. However, I will go back to doing my weekly tax rants because those were actually really therapeutic for me. And at the time I had said I was going to be doing it like Clary did it, where he would just like decide he wanted to do a video. And so he would just set up and do it. Like, I normally will plan these out in advance. I'll set a time the morning of, all that. But no, I mostly just woke up and decided, well, today's the day I'm going to do it. It's a good time. And I didn't put a ton of prep into it. And I was right. I was actually able to do that because my goal was to be able to do a stream once per week during tax season, as interesting stories came up or if I was pissed off and just wanted to rant. So my goal was to do one per week. And I was able to do that. We were able to do it each week. And I couldn't always think of an interesting topic. So I did do that Q&A episode that one time. That I thought that worked out really well. We had some good questions, and it did pretty well on the view count too. So wanted to say, whether you're in the chat now or you're hearing this on a replay, leave a note either in the chat or the comments. Let me know if you want me to do another one of those, because I enjoyed it like more than most of my other streams. Really, I just like doing the whole Q&A thing. So if you think it would be cool to do another one of those, just let me know, and we'll do it. And yeah, just saying, I plan to try to do that every tax season. As long as I have this channel, I'll try to do a tax season rant of the week. They were helpful, and it was a nice break from doing taxes all the time. So prediction number 9. Oh, so I was right about that prediction. I was able to do it. Prediction number 9, I said, I'm going to be getting even more stupid and annoying questions than usual this busy season. And the reason I predicted that was because I noticed that there was a real uptick in stupid clickbaity tax articles from sources like Yahoo Finance, MSN, where they basically sensationalize a headline that applies to a very, very, very small subset of folks with a unique tax situation, but they would act like it applies to everybody. Like, I remember one of them was like, find out how you can deduct your entire swimming pool. And I'm just like, so yeah, it was like that. So I expected that I would be getting all kinds. There was a lot more of these. I was like, I'm going to be getting all kinds of really stupid questions. And, I'll have to probably rant about them in streams. So I did have to think about this one a little bit, whether I got it right or not. And I kind of went back and reread some of the dumber emails I got with questions. And believe it or not, I missed the mark on this one. It really wasn't that different than other tax seasons as far as these questions went. Yes, there were a bunch of stupid and annoying questions. You're going to get that no matter what, but it wasn't any more or less than the previous busy seasons. So I was wrong. I don't really know why I was wrong, but I was wrong. Now, there was the one first for me, and I did a whole rant about this. I still can't believe this. Like that moron who told me after we had finished finalizing his return, he signed it, and I was about to, file it. And then he goes, oh, yeah, I had a kid last year. Was I supposed to tell you that? Like that, I still can't believe that. That kind of counts as the stupidest question I've ever gotten, but yeah, otherwise it really wasn't any more than previous seasons. So I was wrong. I was wrong about that prediction. And for the very last one, I predicted this the previous tax season. I predicted for this one. I said, I think this tax season is going to go even smoother than last season's went. I said, because I'd shedded about 50 of the most difficult, annoying, and cheap clients from the previous year. I just dropped them. And like the story I told you, I had a couple of proven and reliable other CPAs that were kind of waiting in the wings for some referrals. So I was able to send new prospects to them, and even some of the ones I just didn't want to work with. Not the real assholes. I try not to refer those out, but to people I like. But yeah, I had some people that I thought would be better fits for them. And also, I try not to be a nice guy anymore. You got to enforce boundaries, otherwise they won't be respected. So I thought it would go smoother. And I've gone through it the whole stream here. But yeah, this turned out to be true. I was trying to think about the last thing I want to say about this. Earlier today, I was trying to figure out what was the biggest factor in making it go much easier. I think it was because my prediction that I'd get a ton of flack for my pushed up submission deadlines and increased prep fees. The fact that I was so wrong about that, I think, is what made it go so much smoother, like even excessively so than I thought it would be. I really did. Like, I was not really that stressed out the last week of tax season. So I think it was really those critical factors that I think made it work. So yeah, I'm really glad I did that. I guess it just pays to set boundaries and to quit being a nice guy, right? Who knew? I know this is why I'm glad Clary's not here, because he'd be sitting there going, told you so. But he was right about that. But I'm glad I don't have to subject myself to it. So, All right. We're about an hour into this, so I can finish up the super chats. Read any more questions y'all might have. I do need to be right back because I have finished my beer. So I'll be back in a second. Yeah, throw any questions on there if you want them. I'll be back in a sec. Okay. So, some of you guys have given me some major shit about this, so you can shut the fuck up. I'm gonna have one of the maple cookie beers that I like. It's 6.5%, so it's actually higher in ABV than the last beer I had. You can only get these in Texas. You can only get them in Texas. So the candidate was sweet enough to bring me up a whole six pack when she got here. Um, was that about a week and a half ago? Yeah. So she's not here anymore. She had to go back to Texas to work, but she was kind enough to give me a six pack so I could enjoy it until I get back down there. And I'll be back down there. What's today? Tuesday. Yeah, about a week and a half. I'll be back down there. I had to hang around here because I have some follow ups. One with the surgeon and another with the physical therapist. You have to do a little bit of PT like after you have a surgery like that. So yeah. All right. Let us check. Oh, what's up, James Burke? Let us check the super chats here. So what do we got? Let's start with DigiNomad for $2 Canadian. As a CPA, thoughts on Dave Ramsey's baby steps? I don't completely know what this is. Is Dave Ramsey the guy that's always like, pay off all of your debt first? Is that what he does? I know he's a boomer. So I'm inclined to not think he's smart, but if anybody knows, yeah, let me know what it is because I do want to answer the question honestly. Yeah, what are Dave Ramsey's baby steps? Yeah, me z. Hey Chad, did you see my AI version of Cappy at an LGBTQ Pride event? Guys, go to Twitter and look at on my page. I made a comment about some problems that Clary was having because Rob Rareb says did a meme about him flicking people off, and yeah, MZ. Go into one of the comments, you can see that it's pretty funny. I think Rob actually retweeted it. So yeah. Okay, what else we got? Oh, hey, what's up, Dre? Dre, what time is it where you are? God, this is so good. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it to you guys. It's like having dessert, but also getting drunk. Mm. Dre for $2. Boomer, Chad, I got a big box of receipts for you. This is why I want to get the H&R Block crew to maybe come on here so we can have we'll have a struggle session, as all the losers say. Because I mean, yeah, there were some like Red Hawk rolled through town in March just randomly. He was heading somewhere, and so he crashed on the couch. He was telling me about how he had to deal with some of this crap, like piles and piles of W-2s and 1099s for independent artists or whatever. So yeah, I have some sympathy. And early on in my tax career, I did have to deal with kind of shoe boxes full of receipts. But again, one of the perks of being fully virtual is that it doesn't exist. The digital equivalent to a shoebox full of receipts is basically a spreadsheet. And if the receipts are not entered in a spreadsheet, you email the person right back and you say, nope, these need to be in Excel or QuickBooks, or I'm not going to do your return. Go find another tax pro. Oh, you can't. Yeah. Thanks, Dre. Hold on, I oh, super pilotish. Hey, what's up? Ramsey's baby steps are to pay off the little debts first. Yeah, I thought so. Regardless of interest, I don't know about that. Shouldn't you be paying off the ones with the highest interest? Am I being too literal about that? I wouldn't. I mean, yeah, I agree with paying off debts first. I absolutely agree, but I don't know. What do you guys think of that? Damn, Dre, what are you doing up this early? Or is this part of your job? Huh. All right. Sam Whiskey, 4.99. Hey Vlad, I heard you're engaged. Congratulations. Who the hell told you that? Dre, have you been talking to Sam Whiskey? Because Dre always makes that joke. Mm. God, it's so delicious. Rusty Fuel for $1.99. Open the pod bay door, Hal. Yeah, I think the Hal joke was because the IRS is like they they probably had Hal trying to respond to people's inquiry on there. That'll be the future. They won't even have human beings. They won't even bother outsourcing it. They'll just have some dumb AI. Apparently, it gives you a feeling of accomplishment. I don't think I agree with that. Like, I think it's smart to pay off debt, obviously, but how is it not the most practical to care about the ones with the highest interest rate first? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too literal here. Justified misogyny. What's up, man? $5. Boomers I work with are likely to retire in the next 3 months. One confirmed, and the other is pending. Should have time to study for EA during work hours. Yeah, man. I'll go back to what I told you over email. I do think the EA is the right move because it sounds like you want to do this, which I think you should do this. Hell, if you don't, if any of you guys are having doubts about this, just go back and listen to the stream again about the shortage. So yeah, I remember you were asking me like, well, should I take a course for it or should I self-study? Honestly, you can't go wrong either way. The folks that I heard that did self-study found the right study materials and they passed it. So just something to think about. Bob for $2. Do you think the 44% tax capital gains tax is going to pass? Yeah, I heard Biden had something that he was, bloviating about regarding that. I don't think that's going to pass because that would screw too many of the politicians, including the Democrats and Republicans. They don't want to pay that stuff. Remember, they get to do insider trading, so they want to, limit their capital gains. I think it's just grandstanding because it's it's an election year, and his numbers are just ugh. So I think he's trying to appeal to the same folks who want him to cancel student loan debt. So yeah, I don't think it has any hope of passing. Even if it did pass, there's ways around it, but that's for a whole other stream. Sec. Yeah, like why wouldn't you pay off higher interest debt first? Oh, he's targeting female emotional type. Okay, I see. Yeah, you'd think it's from Canada. Sure tastes like it is. Justified misogyny, another $2. That would mean EA before my first busy season. Listen, well, I feel like I should let the EAs either in the chat or comments answer that. Oh, okay. You're going to self-study because it's faster. I agree with that. You can pass that self-studying. But getting back to your, yeah, I have told people in the past to maybe do a little work in tax before, you want to commit to doing the EA. I kind of want to stand by that. But at the same time, I mean, justified misogyny, it's going to be a long time before January of 2025. I think you should study it. Study for one exam, see how that exam goes, and then kind of take it on a step-by-step basis too. Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk. Hat and Clogs, what's up, man? $2. Who hurt Cappy? Cappy is king of the needs. I don't think anybody hurt Cappy. I just think sometimes he just has some problems handling certain things, and I get a bit concerned about it. Yeah. Mm. That's why I have some problems. Just 1 second. You're saying, should I just study and take most of the exams and take the last one after? I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. Any of you EAs in the chat, even if you've already answered this, let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I never took the EA exam, so I don't know how hard they are. I get the impression as long as you study for them, they're very passable. But yeah, why don't you take either 1 or 2 exams and then start working in tax and see what happens? There's not necessarily a huge rush on the EA exam, so we'll see. Adam Schmidt, what's up, man? Adam, for $10. Speaking of, he is being a good. I won't say. He has a dependent who he's trying to steer into accounting, and I think that's very smart, for the right reasons. Anyways, question is, or comment. I'm ready. You're ready to launch a website that will connect military veterans to resources, disability compensation in particular. What are the pros and cons of profit versus nonprofit from an accounting perspective? Yeah, that's a tough one. Like nonprofit, by definition, you think, oh, that's great. I can draw a salary and, I can, nonprofit. It's a Form 990. There's not going to be a lot of, taxes involved with it. For this, I caution people because I have gotten this question before, and I'm being a little bit simplistic because it is a bit of a heavy topic. Like, there is so much reporting requirement, not just on a federal government level, but like state government, sometimes state agency cities. Like, it's just nonprofits are nothing but red tape. And that shit, me, after working in the government in my 20s, that just makes me crazy. I just don't want to live like that anymore. So I guess, Adam, to answer your question, it's actually a non-tax question. It's more about like, what kind of pain do you want to subject yourself through in terms of like, being constantly like, they're going to be scanning you no matter how big or small the nonprofit is. If you want to be a 501c3, you get looked at hard. So aside from that, yeah, that's all I'm really going to say about that, because I mean, yeah, everybody wants to be a nonprofit. You want to be a religious organization. You don't pay taxes. Believe me, there's heavy scrutiny with that. So just keep that in mind. Let's see what else. Let's check some of the chats. Okay. Nonstop Dre for $2. When are you going to do streams with Brian Kim? Brian Kim is so far out of my league. See, our paths have crossed a couple times, but we're talking like 2017. I could like, even if I was guaranteed that he would read an email that I'd send him, I really don't think I'll just be blunt. I don't think somebody with my subscriber count is worth his time, because he's pretty much a huge deal now. I still enjoy his videos. I like his takes on the economy and everything. At last check, I was actually at 2,975 subscribers. So I'm actually trying to get about 25 more. Can I hit the 3,000 mark? I never thought I'd get to 1,000, and getting the 3,000 would be kind of cool. So yeah. Torgo, this was a nice comment. Torgo, thank you. Chad, you've come a long way in the past few months as a podcaster, a live streamer, a raconteur. Yeah, I appreciate that. Honestly, it's practice. Like, I think the only way you can get good at like a solo stream like this is practicing, because it's honestly really, really easy to stream with Cappy, because he's good at it. Like, he's good at talking about subjects, at asking questions and everything. So it's only the solo streams where you really try to figure out the best way to do it in your style. And I'm not an expert by any means, but I do feel a lot more comfortable today than I did 2 years ago. I actually launched it in May of 2022. So I appreciate the comment, Torgo. Let's see what else. Adam Schmidt again for $5. Have you ever seen a large tax-deductible donation to a veterans organizations? No. Well, let me back up. I did have this one client. He still is my client. He's local here. Without trying to think the yeah, nobody knows him. I can just say. So he comes from a wealthy family. Like he worked for a while. He did have a career, and he's not much older than me. But he was just kind of like screw it. One of his dad or something died, so he inherited a lot of money. But he's actually really cool. Like he's not. He kind of tries to give back, which I don't like. I don't normally see this, with a lot of wealthy people. Some, but usually not. So he does. He donates stock a lot of the time. Now, remember, he inherited a lot of stock, but the stock, I won't say which one, but if I said the name, it's not Bitcoin, it's not crypto. But if I said the name and I told you how long he had this stock, you'd be like, oh, that's worth something. Because when you inherit a stock, you get a stepped up basis without having to pay taxes on it. So he does donate a significant amount of the stock to a veteran organization every year. He's not a veteran. He was never in, the military. He just appreciates what they do. And I've always respected him for this. We'll just call him Bill. I'm like, Bill, that's really, really cool of you. So yeah, I have kind of seen it. Yeah. And it is tax deductible on Schedule A. In case you didn't know it, donating securities is tax deductible. So hat and clogs for $2. Cappy went crazy, started attacking chicken tendies. He did? When did that happen? Did he do this on a show? Man, he must have having some serious problems. I didn't know that. Let me know where he did that. That's kind of funny. JWB, Chad, what's the beer of the day? I'm from Dallas, so I know some of the microbrews we haven't. Yeah, this is why I read this comment. I have to agree, man. Like the microbreweries, I've been spending really last 2.5 years a lot in the DFW area. Like just this one alone, 903 makes some of the tastiest like beers, like cream ales. It's only by being in the Fort Worth area that like I discovered my love of cream ales. I didn't even know that 6 months ago. So I have to agree. This is the 903 maple cookie. Before this one, I had a Three Floyds Gumball Head, which is local to here. But yeah, man, DFW does have really good breweries. Let me see what else. Homeschool time. I wanted to know if this was true, if shorts get you the subs, because I don't really do shorts. I actually find them kind of annoying. But if I was curious if anybody knew if that was true, because maybe that's true. They're trying to be TikTok. Adam Schmidt for $10. Thanks. Your advice from the earlier super chat definitely steers me in the right direction. I can't wait to pay Clary for a short video about it. It'll launch in about a week. Yeah. And by the way, you did email me. I remember it was while I was really busy. It was the last week of busy season, but you did. I got the email, and you know the one I'm talking about, where you want me to check it out. Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Adam. I think that is probably everything. Cool. Blanco, Texas, real ale, pale rye. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so that's really all I've got, you guys. And I did want to try to make these streams a little bit shorter, because I know sometimes they drag along, especially when Clary's here. But just want to say thank you for the super chats, you guys. I really appreciate the generosity. Thank you for your good questions. I do think I'll probably do a stream next week. I'll still be up here next week. I don't know which night. I kind of have to base that around sports ball. It's the NHL NHL playoffs right now. If you guys want to make fun of me for watching that, y'all can go fuck yourselves, just like the cream ale. So, so good. Oh yeah, super pilotish. I will. We'll talk. I'll pop on at some point. I'm a Dallas Stars fan, man. I can't believe they won those 2 games in Vegas. Clary likes to say he's a Vegas Golden Knights fan, but he doesn't give a shit. But yeah, the Stars lost the first 2 games at home against Vegas, and somehow they came back and won the last 2 in Vegas. So I'm actually really optimistic. And yes, playoff hockey is better than anything. Oh, Adam Schmidt, $10. If I take Clary's advice and start a channel about picking up chicks with a decommissioned ankle bracelet, can I write that off the eBay? Yeah, I think we can probably 179, section 179. It's a fixed asset, I believe. Oh, EAC, this is a great comment. The nonprofit organization, guys, just go file that form 1023 online. I got to research that. I'm marking this so I can research that. Thanks, EAC. Yeah, but Adam, you might be joking with the question, but if you do start a channel and you intend on making money, like, yeah, in theory, you can write off expenses. I think your question's a bit tongue in cheek, but yeah. So yeah, are you a Stars fan, JWB? Mike Madonna was kind of a hero of mine growing up. So yeah. All right, I think that's really all I got. Again, you guys, I really appreciate it. Thank you for the super chats and everything. Yeah, so I am going to do a show next week. I'm hoping it's going to be with Red Hawk, and we'll talk about his experiences with H&R Block. So we'll see how that goes. But I think in the meantime, I'm going to finish this beer. I'm going to go flip on some playoff hockey. The Vancouver game is tonight, and there was one more I'm missing. I think the Leafs are playing the Bruins tonight. But anyway, I'm going to go check that stuff out. And since Clary's not here, I'll just say that we should hang out soon. Cheers, guys.